Toleration, be the love. Before pride and exaltation, be the love. Be the love.
You are listening to Be the Love, transcending through the shadows into a higher state of consciousness. We are souls on the journey, opening up the conversation to heal, awaken, and connect ourselves and the planet to a higher vibration of love frequency. It starts with you. Everything you need is within you. This is your time. I am Stacy Musial.
And I am Sam Fernandez, and we are your co-hosts at Be the Love podcast. Thank you for tuning in and ascending with us. Hop on board the Ascension Bus.
I'm Lara from Light Coast by Lara. I'm the Tigers of the Light.
This is Brad Panopoulos.
Hi guys, this is Nina Sauer.
This is Dig with Sacred Fire Arts.
Namaste. My name is Istola Joy Davy, and you're listening to Be the Love podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Be the Love, Transcending Through the Shadows. I am Stacy Musial, your host and soul on the journey. And so thank you so much again for tuning in this week with us. And if you've enjoyed listening to our show, we would be so grateful for a 5-star written review on iTunes. Reviews really help the show become more visible and spread the word to others. And if it feels safe for you, I'd like for you to just take a moment and get centered with us. I'd like to begin by inviting you to take a beautiful cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, releasing anything that is keeping you from being present. And take another deep breath in through your nose, breathing in calm, peaceful, loving energy, and breathing out anything you are ready to release in this moment. And take one more breath in through your nose, breathing in light and love for yourself, and breathing out that light and love and send it to all of humanity, remembering that you always have your breath to come back to. Today we have Marla Mitchell. Marla has been assisting and coaching others through life's difficult challenges for over 20 years. She works with clients both individually and in group settings. She enjoys coaching and teaching classes on meditation, Reiki Drumming, numerology, spiritual guidance, tuning fork therapy, and many other spiritually healing techniques. Using her intuitive abilities, she presents a unique approach in helping her clients achieve goals by inspiring them to trust their intuition, face their fears, and take a leap of faith. Marla trusts and listens to her own inner guidance every day, and as a result has experienced firsthand the amazing changes in her life and the lives of others. She's also a radio personality and has had 2 radio programs where she has done weekly shows assisting live callers with their questions, concerns, and life challenges. So thank you so much for being here today with us, Marla.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And so let's just jump in. And I'd love to ask, what, if you could just tell us a little bit about your journey and what got you started on your spiritual path.
Wow, there's a lot there to unpack. I had gifts as a child. Many of us who are empaths, understand that. I always knew what people were feeling, what emotions were going on in them. And it made me a really good people pleaser, because I just knew what they needed. And I assumed that everybody else felt that way. So I didn't know how, rare and unique it is. I think maybe 20% of the population is empathic. And so I had those gifts as a child. I also saw orbs in my bedroom at night. Didn't know what they were, didn't ask anyone because I was raised very religious and we just didn't talk about that. And then I was always interested in astrology in school. My dad, when I was probably 6th grade, bought me an astrology book. So that was my first kickoff there. I did a report in junior high on ESP. Back then it was called extrasensory perception and not psychic ability. And got an A+ on that. I had a friend who had a Ouija board. And so I wanted to try using it. And I did a report, and I took all the names of the teachers in junior high, and I correctly, except for I think one, got all their ages right. Of course, they were blown away, and I got an A+ on my report. After that, I didn't really do much with it. I kind of just lived life and put it away, because in the 70s, it wasn't real popular. And then in my mid-30s, I was in a marriage that I wasn't happy with. I was trying to find help with, I was in a depression. I was on antidepressants. I was just trying to find some kind of peace and joy. And I stumbled upon a book on meditation. So I thought, well, okay, I'll try that. And so the main 3 things I got out of the book, it really didn't tell me how to do it. It was, I just remembered I got consistency, focus, and posture. So I went home and I set up a space in my bedroom that was, very, what I would call Zen and cool, with a meditation plate and candles. And I bought my first of hundreds of crystals. And so I had the atmosphere, and then, I got a nice chair where I could be my posture, my back straight. And then consistency. I told myself I was going to meditate every day, even weekends, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., an hour. And I started a ritual, and I started meditating. The more I meditated, the more my gifts came back. And I eventually took myself off my antidepressants. I eventually started feeling better and knowing that I needed to get out of the marriage I was in. This is probably 4 years down the road of meditating, still every night, even though I had teenagers. I got a very clear message that I should quit my job in the corporate world and start my own business.
Wow.
And I did that.
Wow. So it sounds like, you've been on the journey for quite a while, with starting as a child, and then it just blossomed more in your 30s when you felt intuitively connected, or got the insight that you needed to meditate. And,
Yes.
and those gifts started to emerge. And so, but I'm hearing too that you've also really tapped in and listened to that part of you. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, what led you to trust that part of yourself that said, hey, this is my path. This is what I need to do next.
It's a feeling I had. There were times in my life where I would find, it's hard to explain, but I would have a knowingness in my solar plexus and my sacral chakra, my lower body, and even in my heart. I would just have the gut feeling to do something, to call someone, to follow this. And it was all my life. And I got jobs in the most uncanny way, or I would meet interesting people, or just know things. And I always trusted it. I just didn't know what it was. And so when I started meditating, it got stronger. And probably a couple of years after meditating, I was in one of those metaphysical stores, which are very popular now everywhere. And I saw a tarot deck. And I thought, well, I'm going to buy a deck of tarot cards, even though they were at the time against my religion. I bought them and started playing with them. And darn if I wasn't pretty accurate at doing it. So I started just, like you said, how do I trust it? It's just always been there. I always follow it. And when I didn't follow the knowing, it's not like something bad would happen, but there wouldn't be any movement forward. I would just still feel stuck, or I'd still feel depressed. So I just learned to trust it. Yeah.
That makes sense. So it sounds like really, when you really tapped into that part of yourself and trusted, you were in the flow.
Right.
That flow started to happen.
It started happening.
Yeah. So when was it at the time when you started working with clients?
Ironically, it was 20 years ago, August 1st.
Oh.
So that I left my corporate job and started my business. I put myself on, I worked for a corporation where there was lots of reorganizations and layoffs. And so when a layoff came around, they were wanting to take one or two persons from each department. And I just volunteered and said, pick me. I'll go. Don't take this person, take me. And so it was 20 years ago this week that I left and decided to start working with people. I didn't have any clients. I had a couple of friends who believed in me and said, oh, you should do this for a living. I didn't know what to charge. I didn't know what to do. I just did it out of my home. But I started, I created a business card and started putting my little business card up on bulletin boards at different stores, grocery stores and other places. And then, like I talked about, I had a gut feeling, and this just blows me away still. I had a gut feeling. I had heard other psychics that were on the radio. Okay. Back in the early 2000s, there was a lot of them on the radio. And I said, I've always wanted to do that. So what did I do? I got out the Yellow Pages and I just picked the very first radio station that had the biggest ad, which is how I used to find jobs, by the way. And I had the biggest ad and I called that, and it was 107.9 The Bear. And I just called and the DJ answered. And the DJ said, can you come in tomorrow? I want you to do a reading for me. And I was just like, well, I just want you to say my name on the air, So I went and I gave him a reading and he goes, when can you start? I'm like, start what? He goes, I want you to come in every Monday and co-host.
Oh, wow.
I'd never done radio before, ever. And so I was on for almost 4 years every Monday with Steve Cooper. He's now passed, but he got me my start and I got my name out there. And I was doing readings on the air live for callers. And I was on from 6 to 9 a.m. every Monday. And it's just, like I said, I didn't have clients. Things happen like that. Like I used to work at Northern Lights. I walked in there trying to advertise and they said, well, you want to work out of our back room? And it was a little storage closet. That's all it was. Little tiny, like what you put your coats in, and they put up a table for me and some chairs. And I started working out of there and just charging people who would come in. They'd send them back to me, give them my card. So things like that just happened. And I guess my best advice is when you follow your spirit, when you follow your path, spirit will help you. Spirit will bring you the messages. You have to pay attention, but it will guide you and take you in the direction you need to go. And it will give you those hits. So listen, and even if it sounds stupid or crazy, like thumbing through the Yellow Pages, then go ahead and do it because it works. Yeah.
So is there like a difference someone can tap into, say that, intuition versus that fear feeling? Like how does someone know like when to trust that part of them, that voice, if that makes sense?
Yeah. There's a big difference. Spirit talks in very short, not even sentences. It'll say yes, no, I don't know, maybe, wait. Ego puts a story behind it. And also there is a emotion that is very often fear, panic, anxiety, worry, stress. And so when you ask a question and then your mind starts going, oh, what about this? Or what if that? Or but this? Then that's your ego trying to protect you, telling you, don't do this. This could happen. Don't go over there. Don't go out with this person. But if you drop down and focus on your heart and ask the question from your heart, which is what I tell my clients, drop into your heart, get out of your head, then ask your question, should I, or what is, you'll get a yes, no, or I don't know. It'll be very quick, and go with that first answer.
Mm-hmm. That's really, I think, really good advice, because I think that ego tends to come in, and create those stories, whether or not it's for the good, or whether like you're trying to maybe, want something to happen, where it feels like maybe you're forcing it rather than being in the flow, or you're maybe, worried about like what could happen, like the fear base. So it could go either way. But sounds like just stepping back, trusting, tapping into that heart, coherent energy with your mind, and kind of aligning that too, and then trusting the answer, the
Right.
short answer.
Right. And if you get it, I don't know, or you don't hear anything, then just wait. It doesn't mean no. It just means not yet. Not yet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a great thing that also works, I believe, is if you can see something in your mind's eye, if you close your eyes and you can picture yourself in that job, let's use that for example, a job, and if you can feel it in your heart, what would it feel like to be in that job? And if you believe it's possible, then it's already on its way to you. It's just a matter of time. It's kind of like the movie The Secret, but you're also taking action and believing and using your own intention to pull it towards you. But if one of those three is missing, then you need to wait or just kind of take a step back and see what else is coming. Yeah.
So it's already in the quantum. It's already in the field. Right. We're just have to wait for the timing.
Right.
And that timing, right, is more not linear. So as I think our typical thinking tends to be.
Yeah, that's what we're getting away from with all this shift that's happening now. We're going from third dimension into fifth dimension. A lot of us have already been in the fourth and out from third to fourth. But fifth dimension is where timing is definitely not linear anymore. And that's why most of us have experienced time speeding up. Right? Haven't you noticed the weeks are going faster and faster? And
absolutely. Yeah, it feels like, I mean, just this month, and like, where has July gone?
I know.
So say more about that. Say more about the fifth dimension and the shifts that you're seeing.
There's I've been hearing from my guides. I have several guides that I work with, and I've actually gotten a couple names recently, Ezra and Isaac, and they keep telling me that we're going to talk more with each other. And so I'm waiting for that to start coming in. But they have been telling me that the shift, has been coming on really since the 80s. It kind of started back then, but it's just been getting faster and faster. And of course, 2012 was huge, but 2020, it really kicked off big with COVID. And we're shifting into a what the Bible would call the ascension. And that's where all the beings on planet Earth are raising their vibration up. And Earth is raising too. The universe, there's solar flares with the sun. The nature is changing. Mother Earth's weather, our weather here is changing. And it's just making all of us vibrate at a higher energy or higher frequency. And when we do that, we don't take the past with us. So you cannot ascend if you're bringing your past with you. So a lot of what's going on, what COVID triggered, was all of our crap, right? Most people will, and you're nodding your head, most people understand that last year what COVID was about, the isolation, was digging up your most deepest, darkest stuff from your past and your fears so that you could deal with it. And it's still lingering, and it will continue to linger through this decade. But it's if you do the inner work, if you meditate, if you work on however you want to let it go, massage, therapy, acupuncture, get that stuff up and out of you so that you can raise your vibration up and not carry and hold that past with you. So forgiveness is important, gratefulness, all those things are part of fifth dimension living.
Yeah, I have definitely noticed that. I mean, last year was one of those, we had to stay in to go within. And so if people were doing their work, a lot of stuff was coming up. People were going into their shadow, a lot of fears and anxieties were coming up. But I feel like this energy has shifted a lot for a lot of people just in their own healing journey. And for those people who, there's always going to be stuff to work on, and I think people are at different places in their journey right now. What are some of the tools that you suggest for people to go into that shadow self and to help heal and awaken and continue with the ascension process?
That's a good question. I use still meditation a lot. I still meditate every day. I try to do an hour. I'm not saying everybody else should do that. 5 minutes is better than 0. When your stuff kicks up and if you're not in a place where you can meditate or you just can't, get it going, if you could look at it, I don't know how to explain it, but I always kind of just lean back or take a step back and I look at like, oh, here's this event that happened in my past. And I watch it without getting emotional. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of look at it going, here's this thing coming up again about this person and I'm feeling triggered. And even if I do feel emotional, I don't let it consume me. That's the word I wanted to use. And I just kind of watch it. And if I need to express a little anger or have a cry, then I will. But the biggest point is not to stuff it back down.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and hopefully you're in a place where you can. That's why COVID did that, so that we could be in a safe place in our homes and express and feel those emotions as they come up. Other things that help are like what I do, energy work, Reiki, massage, getting out in nature, walking. That helps a lot, just to go outside. It's just really prayer, also big. To me, prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening to God. They both work great. You can take detox baths. You can put Epsom salt in your bath. There's just so many ways. It's mainly, I guess I would lump it all into self-care. Really, really good self-care.
All really great, beautiful tools, definitely. And I think, we're shifting away from that self-care is selfish, right, into a place that it's necessary for the healing of ourselves so we can, ultimately heal the planet.
Right, right. The other thing that's shifting that I heard yesterday from my guides is that the way we work is going to change, all of us. So in other words, America has been known for working, 10-hour days, 5 days a week, 40 plus, 60 hours a week, whatever. And we're going to go away from that in fifth dimension. We're going to work smarter. We're going to work less. We're going to do better with our self-care. And it's going to be more about a global connectedness and helping others than it is going to be about, this is mine, this is yours. It's going to change so much to be very positive. It's going to be the village again. It's going to be beautiful. Yeah.
I love that, because I think that is definitely something we have moved away from, is that community aspect and feeling isolated even before COVID.
Right, right. And while there are still divisions, you can see the divisiveness even in families. It's supposed to be there as a contrast to help us learn the lesson, because coming here as humans, that's what the earth is all about, is a contrast. Hot, cold, up, down, black, white, and everything is a contrast. And that's how our species learns. And so as we're learning so much right now, the contrast is huge with everybody. And we're all seeing all this. Some of it can be seen as ugliness and others positive, but what you need to focus on is your perspective and how you see it, and that it's happening for a very positive reason, not a bad reason.
So I'd love to hear more about that, because I think right now we are in a very dualistic society, and we're very black or white, and there's a lot of divisiveness,
Right.
with the belief systems, and how do we move through that and maintain or continue to ascend through to the fifth dimension?
First and foremost, work on yourself. So keep working on your own stuff as it comes up. When you get triggered, try not to react so quickly. Look at it, watch it, notice it, and then make it almost like a puzzle you have to solve, and try not to respond to that other person the way you would have. it's also important just to change your perspective about it. If you get triggers like, oh, wow, I used to get really mad about that. And now I'm not mad. I'm just I can see that that person is hurting too, or I can see that this person might need some more compassion. Whatever you need to do, it's like change your perspective on it, and don't respond the way you used to. It's just a lot of it about, again, self-awareness and self-care, and being very intentional about everything you do or say, because what goes around comes around. And that is the most universal, even in all religions, that phrase, do unto others, what goes around comes around. That is very common in all religions and all beliefs, that you need to put your intention out there with a good, with kindness and caring for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It's all about the inner work, so we can work on the outer. And there's a lot of, just energy around, well, the pandemic, and then, forced vaccinations, and people, moving into that energy and the fear. And it feels like there's this level of fear still about like what I should do or shouldn't do. And, a lot of people coming against each other in those aspects. And so, for the masses, do you see that like everyone coming on the same page eventually and rising above this, or what does that look like for our future?
For me, and everyone is different. All souls they will eventually ascend. They will, in their own timeline, wherever they're at in their evolution. I do believe that there are a lot of us who are what you could call the first wave. A lot of us are light workers, or just souls who have really been doing the inner work for quite a long time. And we are ready to shift. We are ready to ascend. We know, what most of us kind of know or have the gist or idea of what we need to do to continue letting go, to operate in a place of kindness and compassion. There are other souls who are just as beautiful and wonderful souls as light workers and other beings of light, but they may be more stuck, and they may be in a more, for whatever reason, difficult situation in their life, and they just can't find a way to help themselves. And so those of us who may be a little bit ahead can help them, can guide them. I mean, that's why we're doing these podcasts, is to help people who don't know how to start doing the inner work, to find help, to find people, again, community, conferences, anything they can do online to help them start making the change. But everyone will ascend. It's just going to be at different times. Yes.
So again, it's not the linear time. It's a more global, it'll happen in the time frame that it needs to. Everything in divine timing. Yeah. And so are there other messages you are channeling from your guides at this time?
I keep hearing, you keep bringing up the same thing about time and how it's not going to be linear anymore. And that boggles my mind a lot when I sit and think about it. I sit and ponder a lot in the evenings. I kind of go, what is this? And I can give you an example. I don't know if I can explain it. I've been having more and more instances happen where I can remember a day, let's say yesterday. I can remember yesterday, but I can remember it, feel it, visual, everything. It happened in two different ways. Like I'm remembering two different versions of yesterday, as if they were both real. And I'm like, that's got to be the time thing, because I'm experiencing two versions of yesterday, and each one was real. And I can remember what client was there and what was said. And then, but now it's this client, and that's got to be the whole time thing lining up like this, happening all at once, where I was in two different universes at the same time. And I remember it. And that blows my mind because I'm like, wow, this is really cool.
Wow.
So I'm fascinated with time and how it's speeding up and how we're able to, with our intentions or our thoughts, either remember different things about our life, or even within in a moment of one day, shift ourselves into a different version of our universe, living in different multi-universes at the same time.
That's really interesting. It sounds like there's like maybe two different timelines going on that maybe, or something around the Mandela Effect even,
Right.
but you're actually remembering both sides of it. It's not that it might have happened this way or that way, but it's you're in it.
I'm in it, and it happened. And I actually had to call a friend and just say, I didn't talk to you yesterday, or did I? Because I remember talking to you yesterday. And she's like, no, you didn't. But then I called the other friend. Yes, we did talk. I'm going, but we talked. So, and I look at the calendar, and I know this sounds crazy, but I'm like, it's happening more and more to me, where I'm remembering times where they happen on the same day, but it's a different outcome and a different experience. And it's multi-universe. It's the Mandela Effect. It's everything collapsing in. And part of fifth dimension, I believe that I have heard, is that we will remember multiple lives, or even some past lives, when we get into that dimension. So then our gifts come back because we start remembering them, right? It's cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. And so as our gifts come in, what does that, say about like our soul purpose for being here, and how to tune into that?
That is part of what's waking up. The more we let go of the past, the more we're willing to shift, the more we awaken dormant gifts or dormant abilities. And there has to be an intention to, you need to be purposeful about wanting to work on that gift, or, and a lot of it is tied to creativity. Be more creative, be more action oriented, not be afraid to try something new. Because there's always that, people sometimes are afraid because they're going to fail, but you're going to fail if you don't try. So don't let fear keep you from trying something new. And let's say it doesn't work. Well, at least you know that, okay, that's not it. I'm going to try this. And it just makes you a better person. But just keep, if you get a hit, follow it. If you get a gut feeling, go for it. It's just, you've got nothing to lose. This place really isn't real. It's an illusion. I mean, it feels real, but when we get on to the other side, it's like waking up from a dream. It's going to be just like that. At least that's what my loved ones on the other side tell me. That this place is a dream.
Right. And so, and with that said, we get to dream our reality into, or dream our dreams into reality, because it is a dream. And so recognizing our sovereignty here while we're in this illusion.
Right.
Because everything seems real, but everything's really just the way we create it, because we are creating life the way we are, right, within. And so when you start clearing that out, you get to like start to really awaken to the dream of that, and recognize.
Yeah. And the other thing about fifth dimension that I wanted to mention too is, as we ascend, it's real important to keep in your mind the version of Earth that you want to live in. Okay. If you're always in fear and always in negativity, then you're going to manifest or end up in that version of Earth, or you may take a little bit longer to get to that fifth dimension, because you're living and coming from a place of fear, and that, oh, this is a big bad world, everyone's out to get me. Versus if you believe that we're heading in a positive direction. Yes, it's difficult, there's challenges, but the human species is a beautiful, loving, kind species, and we all are loving souls that want to ascend, and everything's happening for our best and highest good, and just keep doing what is your part of it. then you end up in that version of Earth versus this version of Earth. It's your attention, it's your mindset.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I actually, like, it was about 2 weeks ago, I spent a week with Joe Dispenza. I went to his advanced workshop in Denver, and it was the most incredible experience because I was going into the quantum, and I was able to rise above all of the, the fears that were, I tend not to focus on the fears anyways, but, the stuff, I was feeling a little stuck energy at the time before going in, and I went in and I went into the quantum. I probably spent about 36 hours of meditation, and I feel like I was just vibrating so high when I left there, and I'm still feeling that vibration. I'm maintaining that energy, and so it is really all about what we focus on and rising above, the fears, because that is part of the illusion.
Exactly. You reminded me of something else that people could do that I have been doing for years. And I just did one over the 4th of July, is go silent. I did a silent retreat, and I've done them for as long as 2 weeks. And then this last one I just did for 4 days. But when you go silent, that means no internet, no phone, you don't speak. If you are listening to something, it's like chanting or a mantra. You don't read a book, you don't do anything. And you find a place. I went to a cabin, and I just stayed out on the deck and watched the Poudre River below and the hummingbirds and just kind of meditated. But staying silent, the ego gets upset because you're not paying attention eventually. It takes a couple days. Then you go into the vibration you were talking about, where you're walking and living in a meditative state for days. And it's just beautiful, because then all you hear are the sounds of God, the sounds of spirit. Yeah.
So say more about that. What can going silent do for someone, and just in their vibration, their life? What is that?
It is the most awesome, I can't explain, it's the most awesome feeling. It basically shuts the ego down. It takes, the first time I did it is probably 3 days before my ego quit complaining. When you don't talk, and even if there's people around, I was in a very big retreat with 50 other people, and we just all went silent at the same time. But when you don't talk or talk out loud, you're not hearing your own voice. You're not distracted by anything around you. It doesn't feed the ego. The ego doesn't get fed. And you also try to eat healthy, as if you can. But the more you don't feed the ego, yes, it pitches a fit. It gets very mad, okay, and it tries to tempt you, but it eventually gives up. It just quits, and then you don't have that little head. You don't have that little voice in your head going off anymore. It just literally shuts up. I can't explain it. It just it goes silent, and then you're just going, wow. And your thoughts they're not really thoughts. They're just calm, peace, and joy. And noises, for me, noises can be very intense. Probably when you came out of your meditation retreat with Joe Dispenza, weren't the noises pretty offensive and loud? And hearing TV and radio or whatever, and hearing cars honking, it can be very offensive because you're so used to being quiet.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to tune into media or TV. It was like that. I did not want to bring in that energy at all. Yeah.
Because that would feed the ego. So your soul is just happy. And it's, I can see why monks go and live for years in a monastery, because it's just beautiful, it's just beautiful. And I was probably a monk in a past life, so I've heard. So yeah. So it may be easy.
Yeah, there's definitely something so beautiful about being able to connect to yourself in that way.
Yeah.
And when you can get yourself out of the way, one thing, I know just working with my own clients, a lot of people tend to be afraid to go quiet. So maybe it's not the silent retreat, that might be a big stretch, but even just like turning off the radio or needing that extra background noise while they're, say, cleaning or sleeping, or, you know. And so what would you suggest for someone like that?
That's I know several people who keep the TV on all night while they're sleeping. Okay. And or always have to have music in the background. Now, music's not bad, and it's okay, but when there is something about, see how I word this, a fear of being alone with yourself, with your own thoughts, or just being bored with yourself, not knowing what to do with yourself. And I've experienced that on and off, but not since I started meditating, but I do understand it. It's just, I can't remember feeling that way in a long, long time, but I do know that it's when you can't, I'm trying to get the words, when you can't be alone with yourself, or when you are afraid to be by yourself with your thoughts, it's a fear that you're feeding. It's like what I'm hearing my guide say is introduce yourself back to yourself gradually. So try it if you want to start doing it, with not necessarily being silent, but just being alone with yourself without something on in the background. Try it for 10 minutes. And then try it for 30 minutes and just do it once a day and get used to that feeling. I think one of the easiest ways is just to go outside and just sit on your deck or your patio or go for a hike and just listen to nature and really listen to the birds and really listen to the wind in the trees and get used to that, because that's who we are. You know, that's who we truly are. But practice doing it and then increase it over time, and you'll get comfortable with who you are. You're just not comfortable with who you are. It's like, well, then you don't know who you are. Well, then you need to know who you are, and you have to get everything away from you so you can know. Yeah, I'm just gonna say, you're not the voice in your head. You're what's behind the voice in your head. And people go, what? It's like, well, that's how I do readings. I get behind the consciousness. I go behind the voice in my head, and I settle in a place that's it's not even in my body. I don't know how else to explain it. Maybe you can try to. It's outside of me, but it's inside of me, but it's not this body. And I go into this place behind the ego, and I sit with it. Or I listen and I listen.
The observer, the soul, the spirit, connecting, recognizing. And I think that, you know, when you say, you know, we're not our thoughts, I think that, you know, for a lot of people, they identify so much with their thoughts. I think that we're so much bigger, and stepping behind those thoughts. Or, you know, because it's not always about either like clearing the thoughts, because we're always going to have thoughts. It's about what do we do as we move through, or, you know, quiet down the thoughts and start to listen to that inner voice.
And it takes practice, but it's so rewarding when you start listening to it and start following it, and when you aren't afraid of it. And
Absolutely.
It's just like night and day for me when I started meditating, you know, and then before that is everything else. But when I started meditating and I started listening, and I didn't know how or what I was doing, but I just started going to that, as you said, the observer place, the better I felt. I can't explain it. It's just, there's something about it. And I just knew that I wasn't this rambling voice in my head that just kept telling me this or that, or you're not good, or you're not smart, or you're not, you know.
Right. Because that's all ego. That's past conditioning. That's, you know, things that maybe I've picked up along the way, or, you know, your ego trying to keep you safe from being your true sovereign being,
Right.
keep you suppressed, rather than awakening to your true potential.
And the ego's not bad. It's just trying to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
It wants to protect you from fear and pain and suffering. So it thinks by keeping everything away from you, or keeping change away from you, will protect you, but actually it's harming you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Which I think you bring up a really good point, is that even our ego tries to push and keep everything away, including love, including connection. And so thinking, believing that we'll be safer if we don't connect with others. And that's what I think has created a lot of that, isolation, or people fearing intimacy, whether or not it's with a friend or a partner, or, these deep connections on a global level. So how do we shift into that consciousness of really bringing forward that love vibration, so that we can, really tap into that love for ourselves, become connected with ourselves, so we can ultimately love others?
It's more about just not judging, when something happens, don't be so quick to judge. When someone says something, don't be so quick, change your perspective on it. I've said this before, it's about intention and how you're viewing it. No one else views the world the way you do. We think they do, but they don't. And it's just about, try to see if something is coming into your field of vision and it's negative, try to see, at least in your mind it's negative, try to see something positive, something good, something beneficial. Or just let go and just say, this is happening for my highest good. I don't understand why, but I'm going to go with it. I'm going to breathe through it, and I'm going to allow, because I want to see where this is taking me. Oftentimes when things happen and change, yes, it's upsetting. Yes, it's painful. Yes, there's suffering. I mean, we've lost a lot of people and animals this past year and a half. And it's painful and it's hard, but it's for our highest good. And if we can just be open to receiving whatever the positive is, just allow that to come in, and just trust that this is for my highest good. I don't know why, but I'm not going to harbor anger or blame or resentment. I'm going to stay positive and know that someday I'll understand. That helps you shift. That helps you change who you are. It just makes everything easier.
I love that. And recognizing that it is for your highest good, and that there is a purpose behind it. One of the things that's always helped me, that I put into practice a long time ago, is, if I found myself going into maybe old patterns, judgment, or, something about that was outside of me, I just tapped into my heart space, and I sent that person love. And so essentially I'm sending them love, but I'm sending myself love, and then the energy shifts. And so it's, but it's automatic now. So it's like, if I, get frustrated, maybe a driver driving down the road, or, something, I'm out on my bike a lot on the bike trails, and, sometimes people will cut me off, or, there's things that happen, but it's never personal. And I have to, always recognize that's not personal. It's, I'm just going to send them love. Maybe they didn't recognize in that moment, and it's my way of, I send them light and I love, and then it shifts the energy, and I come into a better place to enjoy my ride, because I'm, don't want to let that one thing, influence my day or my ride. So
That's like giving your power away when you do that. Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah. So sending love to people, and just tuning into that heart space.
Right.
And really, I think that's helped me also shift my vibration,
There's so many ways to shift vibration. In other ways, just to be creative. Create something, whether it's pictures with your phone, or something with your hands, or digging in the garden, whatever. If we are creative, then we are tapping into, that's another form of meditation. We're tapping in to our higher self and making something that wasn't there before, or bringing something in. So creativity is very, very important with shifting, getting yourself out of ego, lightening your mood. It's just, yeah, I can't explain other than I just know creativity is key. It's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that up too, because essentially we're all creators, right? We're creating our life, but like tapping into that, that creative side, getting out of the analytical mind and tapping into creativity can create that flow energy.
Right. Whether it's music, artistic abilities, journaling, blogging. I mean, there's so many different things that we can do. Yeah. Playing a game with children, creating a new game to play. It's just, there's so many things you can do that. Yeah.
And I think it also gets into our playfulness too.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think as adults, especially, we tend to get away from being playful.
Yeah. We get way too serious.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But I love to be playful by, dancing, or just sometimes I'll just get up and skip.
Oh, wow. I wish I could skip. I like the dancing idea. That's good.
Yeah, it helps, I think, get into the flow, and it changes the brain patterns, because I'm one that used to be very, analytical or goal focused, and had to get, I had all kinds of goals, and I was, in my masculine energy. So trying to bring in that other energy, the feminine, a little bit more, and that creative.
I was out walking the other day, and there was kids that had, and this was long. It was the longest hopscotch I'd ever seen on a sidewalk.
Oh,
and I got a wild hair, and I thought, I'm looking around going, okay, there's nobody out. It's 7 a.m. So I'm trying to do it. And it just kept going. I'm like, oh my God. But I felt like a kid again, Yeah. It was fun.
I love that. It sounds like it probably shifted your energy too.
Yeah, it did.
That's awesome. I'm just curious too. I was just thinking, have you noticed the shift with the feminine and masculine energies?
Absolutely. I have been hearing a lot that this decade, the 20s, is going to be divine feminine coming back into her power. We've been such a patriarchal society for a long time, for hundreds of years. And we're coming back into the power of women, feminine. And it doesn't mean we're going to dominate or anything like that. It's going to be a more equal balance of masculine and feminine. And if there's any women listening to this broadcast, it's now is the time to, if you want to start your own business, start your own business. It's going to be absolutely blessed. And I could even say the word luck coming in with it. It's just, this is the time, if you've been putting it on hold, to follow your passion, listen to your soul, and start your business. Get your business card out, learn more about whatever it is you want to do. If you want to learn holistic healing or anything that you've been, whether it's photography, anything you've been wanting to do, put it out there, because women in business are going to really grow in this decade. Huge. I keep hearing. And more people are going to search out the healing modalities, the preventative medicine, the holistic medicine as well. It's going to be very, very, very positive, very prominent. It's become so popular lately. Haven't your business increased? Mine's just quadrupled.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just feel like the energies are definitely supporting that right now.
Yes, it's amazing. And my classes are larger. It's just everyone's gravitating towards this energy and this, they're feeling the vibration, and they want to know what it is. They want to understand it, and they want to work with it. So yeah, divine feminine's coming in, and that's the energy that we're feeling, is divine feminine waking up.
Yeah. And I like what you said too. It's not like in competition or one's, there's no hierarchy. It is about connecting the energies in a very synergistic way and to learn to recognize each other's values. It's not like male against female, and masculine against feminine or anything like that, but it's how do we co-create and learn to understand and love each other for who we are and embrace our differences.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Marla, I'm wondering if you would be open or if you have a process or meditation that you are reading that you would be willing or open to sharing with us today.
Yeah, let me think what this needs here. I guess I'll just leave everyone with some words and a feeling. If everyone would like to, if you'd like to close your eyes and take a nice deep inhale and then hold it to a count of 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. And let's inhale again and hold to a count of 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. And now just sit quietly and listen to whatever sounds are in the room that you're in, whether it's the sound of my voice, the sound of a clock ticking, the furnace, or I should say furnace, the air conditioner, the refrigerator. Whatever sounds you're hearing, try and put them in the forefront of your mind. Push them forward. And then for you, lean back. And if you need to physically lean back, and get behind the sounds. Try that for a second. Just get behind the sounds, like you're listening behind your ears. And put the sounds in your forehead or the front of your ears. And they may increase in sound. You may really hear them get louder. But notice that behind all those little sounds that you're hearing, there's a stillness. There's a part of you that is watching, observing, and listening. This is where you can make the most productive, healthiest, most knowledgeable, powerful decisions is from this space of stillness, behind all the noise, behind your consciousness. Go to this place, drop down into your heart, ask your questions, and follow those answers: yes, no, maybe, or wait. And that will give you a true spiritual answer for the problems or challenges that you have in your life. Doesn't mean you're going to like it, but it will give you a more connected answer, a more spiritually guided answer to help you move forward. Take another deep breath and relax and open your eyes.
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Definitely felt that going deep within and just that silence. It's so profound, yet just, when you can get to that place and put everything else outside of you and recognize that that's where your truth lies. That's, and just to tap into that. And it takes practice, but the practice is a practice, and it's, a daily practice.
Right. And that's what I was going to add. Perfect. Is if you don't like being alone, if you don't like being without sound around, just try this. Try this for 2 minutes and just get quiet and listen to the little sounds, but get behind it and get used to doing that, and do it outside where you hear the birds. And that's where your truth is. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's available to everybody.
It's free.
It is.
It's free.
We all have it. We just have to tune into it.
Right. It's always there. That's how I do my readings. It's always there. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so, Marla, can you tell our listeners how they can find you and maybe what you're currently working on?
I have a website, marlamitchell.com. And currently I have a workshop coming up in about 2-3 weeks on August 14th. It's already full, but I'll do another one. That's about, have you heard of human design?
I've heard of it. I'm not familiar with it, but I'm really interested.
It is, I stumbled on it about 3 years ago, bought all the books, and I'm still so enamored with it. I think it's even better than astrology. It really gets you into who you are, why you are the way you are, and your gifts and abilities. But we're going to do a workshop on that. And then I have a person who's certified to teach it to come and co-teach with me. I just had a Reiki class, beginners. I've got another one coming probably in September. I kind of just go with the classes as they pop in. I listen to guidance and clients saying, oh, teach this, and then I teach it. So I am wanting to start working on doing my own little videos. So hopefully those will start coming up soon. I'll put them on Facebook and maybe YouTube as well. Just real short snippets on guidance and things like that.
Beautiful. And we'll add your website and any other links you want to provide to our show notes so people can find easily. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today, Marla.
Thank you. It was fun.
Absolutely. And yeah, thank you for having this beautiful conscious conversation. And thank you for listening to our show. Stay tuned for more episodes being released on Mondays at 5:55 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And if you've enjoyed listening to our show, we would absolutely love a 5-star written review on iTunes. And of course, please share the love by sharing it with your friends. And if you want to support the work that we're doing, please consider making a donation to our show by visiting our Patreon website at patreon.com/BeTheLovePodcast. And until next time, love yourself, love each other, and love the world. We love you.
Thank you.
We at Be the Love Podcast are honored to be supporting the Commodity Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization in Uganda that is working to build a school that will promote and support healthcare, education, skills development, feeding the hungry, human rights, and environmental defenders. Their goal is to work with young mothers and single mothers, street children, and vulnerable families who lack nurture as they guide them to become productive individuals, which will lead to a productive generation. Please see our show notes on how to become a donor, mentor, volunteer, or sponsor.
Thank you, Heather Lynn, for providing us with your beautiful song to accompany our show, Be the Love. If you would like to learn more about Heather Lynn and her music, please visit her website at heatherlynnmusic.com. And thank you, Chrissy Grace at Leading Edge Productions for the beautiful design and graphics.
And thank you for tuning in. And until next time, we are souls on the journey. And thank you for hopping on the Ascension bus with us. And remember, there is always a seat for you.